Right, hello folks. I'm now back with the RTI Prophet and I've got it tuned. Now these rifles, although in the UK we come under the 12 foot-pound legal limit for air guns, these rifles are really designed for the high power market, so they're quite restrictive in the way they tune them up. And the issue I found with this one, what the problems were, all came down to the transfer port. So this rifle belongs to Windy 33 or Peter Miller. He contacted me to say that he got a rifle, he couldn't get it to shoot it, got a leak in it, and asked if I'd like to do it and show you how I did it on the channel. So I stripped this rifle down so many times now I know it inside out. I did have a lot of issues with it, mainly the steam valve was leaking quite a lot. I've sorted that out. It has got a slow leak on it, but I think that's still down to the valve, but on the whole I've managed to sort the leak out. Problem was I couldn't get much more than 7 foot-pounds out of it, no matter what I did to the regulator, turn it up or whatever. I think I did manage to get 10 foot-pounds out of it once, but it wasn't very consistent, but most of the time I couldn't really get much above 7. So I did think, well, why is it the regulator that's not right or whatever? So under at the back end here I fitted the manometer gauge. Now it comes with a Foster fitting valve for that, so it's designed so you can take the air bottle off, get an air tank in a backpack and shoot it with no bottle on it. It's in your backpack, so it's a lighter setup. But if you're not using that, you can put an air gauge in. So that's what I did, so I could read the regulator pressure. It took quite a while to get that working. When I did, even though I'd set the regulator between, well, it was anywhere from like 30 bar up to 200 bar, it was still getting no more than 7 foot-pound. So I knew then it's got to be something else rather than the regulator, because I knew the regulator was working at that time. So what I did, I took out the barrel, and there's a big grub screw at the back there to take the barrel off. But you can go through, and below that there's another grub screw, which is the actual transfer port. And the transfer port, that is what decides how much air is coming through to the rifle, no matter what you've got set on your regulator. I took it out, and then I realised what it was it used to be an RTI Priest, and the way that RTI work, you can actually upgrade the rifle. So what Peter did, he got a new front block, so he could have, instead of a pull bolt, he could have a side lever like this is now. But he went the old log and he bought the rear block. And what I think they've done, they sent him the rear block, but it's got a transfer port in it that was designed for the German market, who can only shoot 6 foot-pounds. And the reason I knew that was the case was when I looked at the size of the transfer port, it was at the most a millimetre, but probably less than a millimetre transfer port. And I knew that's what the problem was. The restriction was all down to the transfer port, and that's what they do in the UK to keep guns below the legal limit. The restriction is normally on the transfer port. So what I did, like most guns I've tuned up now, whether it's 177 or 22, you can normally open up to 3 millimeters, even more on a 22 with no problems, because you can actually knock the power off by lowering the pressure on the regulator, which gives you more shots. And you can also do it by increasing the tension on the exhaust valve, so that the hammer's harder to open the valve, so that actually reduces pressure as well. So I drilled it out to 3 millimeters. I kept it at the 40 bar that it was at. The first shots coming out were ridiculously high. They was coming out at around between 15 and 17 foot-pounds. And that was from a low bar pressure of 40 bar. And I thought, crikey, if this is what it's doing at 40 bar, imagine what it's going to be doing at like 80 bar or 120 bar, which a lot of the non-restrictive countries set them at. You'll probably get a 2.2 pushing 70 foot-pounds. So the hardest thing then is to tame it. So I thought, well, I can't really drop it much more. And I dropped it down to 30 bar. And although the power was dropping off, it still wasn't dropping off enough. It was probably running about 13 foot-pounds. But at that sort of pressure, it wasn't consistent on the shots. So at that stage, I thought, well, it's a transfer port. I've gone to 3 mil. I'm going to have to reduce it. So in the end, what I did, I got a Delrin washer and glued it to the transfer port, and this time I'd set it to 2.5mm. So I then went back to the rifle at 40 bar, and it was coming back at around 7.5 foot-pounds. So I thought, well, I've got it now. All I need to do now is turn up the regulator pressure. So I think I went from 40 bar to 80 bar, and this is bearing in mind it's a 2.5mm transfer port, and at 80 bar I think it was bringing back about somewhere between 13 and 15 foot-pounds again. So then I dropped it down to 70 bar, and it's about 13.5 foot-pounds, or 12.5, something like that. So then I set it at about 64 bar, and I was spot on with that. I was then getting 11.4 foot-pounds. So if you've got a 2.5mm transfer port, you can set your reg at 64 bar, and in 2.2 you'll be getting around 11.5 foot-pounds, something like that. So at 64 bar, you should get a hell of a lot of shots out of the size tank this is. So it is now tuned. So what I'm going to show you next is some views of the transfer ports, how I did it, and I'll show you the tune-up process, how I do it, and that basically is a rifle tuned. The actual hammer spring barely makes any difference to this. If you start winding it in, you're more likely to drop the pressure than increase it. So everything, unlike most other rifles, everything on this is based on regulator pressure to get the power you need. So that, my friends, is the RTI Prophet. Very nice rifle, very accurate. I believe in 2.2 it's the CZ barrels on these. I think on 177 and the 30 cal, I think they're low for Walther, but the 2.2 and the 2.5 I believe it's CZ barrels, and they're well known for accuracy. So there we go. Part 2, the finished tune, and then in the next videos you'll see it out in the field, and I'll also be testing different pellets through it. So enjoy the rest of the video. More things to follow will be on a product I'm getting from One Leaf. Be coming out probably in the new year now, but they're coming out with a new thermal scope, so I will be reviewing that for you, and also reviewing the One Leaf NV500 against the NV500 Eagle. So they've both got the 30 and 50mm lenses, but depending on which scope you go for, you'll get different magnification. So I think the 30mm lens on the Eagle is between 1.5 to 13 times zoom. The 30mm lens on the standard NV500, I believe, is 3 to 26, and then the 50mm on the standard Eagle is 4 times, so that will be 4 to 52 times, and the 50mm on the Eagle will be, I believe it's 2 to 26 again. So I can compare the two rifles on the different magnifications, and you'll see the clarity through them. But the one I've got attached on here is the basic NV500, not the Eagle. So I'll be comparing this to one I've got on my Rex and X regime at the moment. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon. Okay, then I've got the 2.5mm transfer port in the rifle now. Let's see what it's shooting at. .9. Okay, so I need to uprate the regulator pressure. But while we're here, we might as well see how consistent it is. The reason it wasn't going above 6 or 7 foot-pounds before was because the transfer port was only a millimetre, no matter what you set the reg at. But it's going to be a lot easier to sort now. Using field target trophies at 14.66 grains. And that's it. So that is the first sheet, so we'll get that marked up. Okay, then test 2. I've put 20 minutes on the reg, so it's now at 80 bar. Could be too much, but we'll find out.
638.
Yeah, so that's 13.2, so I'll bring it down by about 7 bar. I'll just go through it anyway and we'll see what consistency is like.
$640. .3.
I think if I drop it by another bar, we'll be on. Just a bit too much here, maybe 2 bar.
12.3.
So while I'm just going to adjust the 0 and try and get that on, and the next time we're here it should be about 11.5 hopefully.
.4. 12.3. 12.
Okay, I'll call it at that. I'll reset the reg. Okay then. Now set it around 64 bar. See what it comes up with.
587.
Yeah. That's probably about right, to be honest.
586.
This is a lighter pellet.
589.
That's accurate as well. If I want more, then try 0 it.
592.
I'll be back in a bit.
592. 592.
That's spot on.
594. 593.
I think it'll be about 11.4 foot-pounds average.
594. 594. 590.
Last bullet.
587.
Empty magazine.
Okay. So I've got an average of 591, high of 594, low of 586. That was the last shot. So apart from the last, that was 8 feet per second spread. Standard deviation 2.8. Would have been a lot less than that without the last shot. But anyway, that's the way it's gone. Could be an heavier pellet, I suppose. So an average of 11.4, and we're zeroed.